Bryan White. Bryan is the founder and CEO of DropBarTalent, a full-service talent acquisition company for mission-driven organizations based in Colorado in the US. Start with some of the basic questions because I get asked these quite a lot. When I often make recommendations to work with a recruiter, a few people start with, what do they actually do? And I think that would be a good place to start in this conversation with that kind of open question.
For sure, and it's a great question. Pardon me. The question has been around for my entire career. The way I think is easiest to describe is there's really three types of recruiters, and one you should be very leery of, in my professional opinion. So there's one recruiter that's working for a corporation. So they are in-house at a company, and their time is spent focused exclusively on roles for that company. They're a corporate recruiter. There are also agency recruiters, which are sometimes called headhunters, for better or for worse. Those recruiters are focused on a portfolio, large or small, of companies that they serve. But they have a broader perspective across a wider variety of jobs and clients than a corporate recruiter who is solely focused on one organization. Those are the two primary types of recruiters. The third recruiter is the one I think you should be most leery of as a job seeker. That's the recruiter that is working to place you at a job, and the fee structure for that recruiter is you, job seeker, paying that recruiter to be placed. It is far less common in my experience than the other two types, and generally speaking, I don't think that job seekers, even in today's very interesting employment marketplace, need to invest those dollars for the services of that third recruiter. That's my professional opinion.
Okay, that is very good to hear, and it's also quite an important point, because the follow-up question I often get is, I can't afford that, and exactly. I don't think I should be paying. I don't think I can pay the money for that kind of service.
Exactly.
Before we even get into the what are the benefits, how do you find somebody, etc., etc. So, do you tell a little bit more about the fee structures of the first two, for example?
Sure.
How is that funded?
So your corporate recruiter is working on salary, much like any other corporate employee, and they may have bonuses associated with their performance or not. That varies company by company. But in either the case of the corporate recruiter or the agency recruiter / headhunter, it is the company that's hiring people that ultimately pays their salary or their fees. Does that make sense? So a corporate recruiter is earning a salary from their employer, and then the agency recruiter is getting paid by the company who is hiring talent. And that pay structure, those fee structures vary. I guess the most common two are contingency placements. So my fee is contingent on my placement of a human, and then there are guarantees and other things. The second type of fee structure is more of when you hire a contract person or a consultant on a project basis, that individual will be working by the hour, and the individual earns a rate, and then there's a markup on top of that rate that the recruiter or the agency rather is earning. It's overly complicated. I believe for the folks that are watching this content, the most important thing to understand is that the recruiter is paid by the entity hiring talent, not the person seeking the job. That's the simplest way to understand it.
Yeah, and in addition to that, the incentivization is for the job to get placed.
Exactly. I apologize, we kind of buried the lead in that. But when you think about working with a recruiter, you inherently have to understand that a recruiter is motivated by the company hiring the job. My favorite thing about recruiting is sitting in the middle of this dynamic and being able to make introductions and see the light bulb go off on both sides of the equation at times, etc. I digress. But the recruiter's goal is to understand a requirement, to understand the job, and to then go into the candidate marketplace and find people, whether those individuals are applying or the recruiter has to go solicit them, but go find people to match with that job. Very seldomly can a recruiter identify a human and then take that and match it to a job. It does happen, but the impetus and the starting point is almost always the requisition and the need that takes the recruiter into the candidate marketplace to look around and explore to find a match for that job, not vice versa.
Okay, so that's, again, that sequence of questions flows neatly, because the thing that happens after we've covered no, you shouldn't have to pay. The incentivization here is for your recruiter partnering with you to find this role.
Yes.
Or